I'm Adora and I'm 16 years old. I recently managed to get out of a very toxic situation with my unbothered parents, all thanks to my grandmother. It ended with my parents begging me to forgive them, but how about I start from the very beginning? For the first 13 years of my life, it had always been me, my mom, Camellia, and my dad, Howard. I remember when I was about 6 years old, I really wanted a sibling because all my friends had one and I wanted to be just like them. My parents always turned me down and told me that they didn't want another child because they were content with me. I eventually gave up on the idea of a sibling and got used to being an only child. Being an only child was amazing. I pretty much got spoiled senseless by everyone in my family, but most of all by my grandmother, Trista. She was my mom's mother, and since my mother didn't have any siblings, I was my grandmother's only grandchild. So obviously, I got all her love and affection, and I got a lot of gifts from her. My parents would often drop me off at her place whenever they needed to work late hours, and that was my favorite thing because I loved spending time with my grandmother. But that stopped by the time I was 9. Suddenly, I was not allowed to go over all the time, nor was I allowed to say anything much to her about what living at home was like. Whenever I asked my parents why there was a sudden change, they would always tell me that I was too young to understand. Whatever the reason was, at that time all I felt was loneliness. The only person that I could talk to was someone that I didn't see anymore. My parents were working full-time and they only returned home at around 9 p.m., which was my bedtime. Since I had nothing to do, I did the next best thing that I could. I focused on my studies. I also picked up reading as a hobby, and before I knew it, I was one of the toppers in my grade. Pretty soon I immersed myself so much in my studies and the imaginary world of books that I barely even noticed when my parents weren't around. Of course, every once in a while, they'd throw me a party to celebrate my good grades, and that was when I'd finally get to meet my grandma. But other than that, I think I just grew used to not having them around. This pattern continued for years. My parents would always call me an easy child because I caused no trouble for them. I mean, how could I cause any trouble for them when they were barely around to begin with? I gradually got used to my loneliness. It became part of me, and I guess I went throughout life being alone because it was like an escape for me. However, all of that was about to change for me. A few months after I turned 13, my parents came back home early from work and called out to me. I ran down to see if something was wrong, but both of them looked really happy, so I calmed down. Mom then told me that she had something to tell me. "Sweetie, we have something really big to tell you." "I'm excited. What is it?" "How about you sit down for this, huh?" "Okay." "Okay, so you remember how when you were little you always asked us for a baby brother or sister?" "Yes." "Well, I'm pregnant." "You're going to have a sibling." "Really? Oh my God, that's amazing." "Yes, and now that you're going to be a big sister, you're going to have to help out around the house. Starting now, though, because your mom is going to be very pregnant and very tired. That means that she won't be able to do her share of the housework for the next few months." "Of course, I'll help out in any way that I can, but what about my schoolwork?" "Oh, sweetie, you don't have to worry about all that. You can go easy on your studies for the next few months, and I'll be there to help you out." "But I don't want to go easy on my studies. I love the track I'm on right now." "I know, but you have to make sacrifices every once in a while, right?" "Especially when it involves your family." "How long are you going to be pregnant for, Mom?" "Just another 7 more months, sweetie." I guess I could make a few sacrifices, but what about after the baby comes? Will I still have to focus on the baby?" "There's still 7 months left to figure that out." "But I want a clear picture so I can plan ahead for it." "Adora, you're being a little bratty right now, and I really don't appreciate it." "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm happy that I'm going to get a sibling, but I'm also worried about what's going to happen after the baby's here. I mean, if you're already asking me to stop focusing on my studies." "Hey, like I said, sweetie, that's an issue for another day. Why don't we get dinner heated and we'll watch your favorite movie to celebrate? All right. I knew already deep down in my heart that the birth of my brother would be the end of my academic success. I mean, I still do love my brother, Milo, to bits, but I was not wrong. When my mom was pregnant, I was only given minor chores to do, things that didn't take much time, like loading and unloading the dishwasher or cleaning the kitchen counters after making our meals. But after my brother Milo was born, I was suddenly given every responsibility in the house. In the first year of Milo's life, I somehow still managed to have some spare time to focus on other things that were not chores. But by the time Milo was a year and a half old, my parents would make me babysit him while they'd go out to parties. The babysitting would start as soon as I got back home and end only the next morning when my mom would look after him before she went to work in the afternoon. This started happening every once in a while at first and then escalated to 4 to 5 times a week. Now, keep in mind that I was only 14 at this point. I was already struggling with being a teenager, and suddenly I was made responsible for a toddler who was very fussy and hard to deal with. One particular day, I had a really rough time at school and was really tired. So when my mom told me that she and Dad were going out that night, the third night in a row, I kind of snapped. Sweetie, Dad and I are going out tonight. Again? Is that a tone I hear? No, I'm sorry, but who's watching Milo? You, of course, silly. I can't do that today, Mom. I have my finals tomorrow and I really need to study. Oh, hush, Adora. Dad and I told you that we would be okay with you just passing your exams. But I'm not okay with that. Do you know how humiliating it is that I've dropped to a below-average student? So, do you not care about your family? That's not what I'm saying. That's definitely what it sounds like. You have no idea what kind of sacrifices your dad and I had to make for you when you were little. The least you can do right now is help us out when we need it. I love helping you out, Mom. It's just that you and Dad are always going out. And you always leave me to babysit Milo. Sweetie, your dad and I are always super stressed because of work. This is our way of relaxing. What about me? I deserve to relax too, right? I'm sorry. Do you work 80 hours a week? Do you have taxes to file and bills to pay? No, but I do have a ton of things to do as well, and I get tired too. Adora, stop being a brat. You know that your family should always come first. I get that you're tired, but so are your dad and I. Now be a good girl and look after your brother. Can't you at least drop Milo off at Grandma's or have her come here so she can look after him while I study? Absolutely not. Why? I just gave you the perfect solution. Look, that was not a solution. That was your strategy to try and weasel your way out of doing your family responsibilities. That's not true. Your grandmother is old, and we don't want to disturb her, okay? Now, your dad and I need to get going. Dinner's ready and in the fridge. Just heat it up. Make sure Milo sleeps on time. Love you. Bye. I hated that I could never properly stand up for myself, and my parents never let me ever get a word in. If I ever said something rational, they'd shut me down or tell me that I was being disrespectful. The previous conversation was only the start of the many fights I had with them over the course of the year and a half. I would constantly ask them why they couldn't take care of Milo or have some family member look after Milo, but they would always shut me down. Whenever the argument was getting too heated, they'd pull the family card. They'd tell me that family comes first, and they'd guilt-trip me for not valuing my family. And how could I stay mad at that? Every time they made that argument, I would shut down because I'd be so racked with guilt. I would do everything they wanted for the next week or so just to show them how much I cared for them. This cycle continued for a while, but just a few weeks after my 16th birthday, my parents sat me down and told me that they had to talk to me about something. Sweetie, we need to talk to you about something. Yes, but first let me check up on you. It's been a while since you told me what's been going on with you. How was school today? It was okay, nothing new really. Okay, that's great. Now, your dad has something to tell you. Yes, so your mother and I were thinking, now that you're 16, we think you should start looking for a part-time job. What? Why? Well, we were just thinking that you could help contribute to the household expenses. It never hurts to have some more money, right? Haven't I been doing enough? Adora, don't you dare yell at us. How can I not? I've done my best to listen to you. At my expense, no less. I have no time to do anything that I love, as it is, because I need to take care of my brother. If I start working right now, I'll not even have time to study. Why are you so intense about your studies? Look at your dad and me. We have the most basic degrees and we're living comfortably. Then why do you want some more money if you're that comfortable? There's no need for me to get a job. Is it really that hard for you to be a decent person and help your family out? It's clearly not. I've done nothing but look after my brother for the last 3 years, while you two only went to parties. Milo thinks of me more as a mother than a sister. Doesn't that concern you in the least bit? He's just young. He'll understand things when he's older. But for now, you have to get a job. Okay, I'll get the job if we hire a babysitter. I can't take care of Milo and work and focus on school at the same time. Absolutely not. I am not leaving my son in the hands of a stranger. Not to mention that will be way too expensive. You can use my entire pay to offset that expense, though. We're living pretty comfortably right now, like you said. Look, you either get a job and help our family out, or you get out of this house. Do you understand me? How is that fair to me at all? Tough luck, kiddo. There's a life lesson for you. Life is never fair. You just have to deal with it. You guys are clearly making this unfair for me. I don't want to babysit Milo all the time. And work, too. The least that you guys could do is help me out a little. Sweetie, we're busy earning money to keep you and Milo alive. So if you can't juggle working and raising your child, how do you expect me to do that? That's enough backtalk. We've had enough of your disrespect. Your mom is not joking when she said that we would kick you out if you don't listen to us. Now, your dad and I have another place to be at. We'll be back later on. Make sure you and Milo eat dinner. Take care, and if you need anything, just call us. Bye. I couldn't believe the audacity that my parents had to force me to get a job. And this time, they didn't only pull the family card, but they also threatened to throw me out if I didn't listen to them. I remember feeling so hurt that day, and even more hurt the next day when my mom told me that she had spoken to a friend who was willing to give me a job at her diner. I ended up taking that job, and I was expected to work every day of the week because that's what my mom told her friend that I wanted to do. I had absolutely no time for anything, not even sleep. I would wake up early in the morning, go to school, go to work, pick Milo up from daycare, get back, babysit Milo for a little while, until my parents came back home from work or their party, study and sleep for 3 to 4 hours. I was living a nightmare. But everything finally changed for the better one day. That day, I had a pretty rough day at work and I was beyond tired. I came back home to a note on the fridge that was signed by Mom, telling me that she and Dad had gone out. Well, that was not new to me. For the first time, there was no dinner or money left for Milo. I was tired and hungry, and after trying to reach both Mom and Dad, who never answered their phones, there was only one person I could think to reach out to, my grandma. Hi, sweetie, is everything all right? Hi, Grandma. I need your help with something. Of course. What do you need? Well, there's nothing to eat at home, and I don't have any money to order any food in. Whoa, why is there no food at home? Well, it's been a while since Mom and Dad went grocery shopping. Okay, and where are they right now? At some party. And you and Milo are home alone? Yeah, but I'm completely used to that. It's normal. I just need help with the food, so if you could maybe order us some food. That's nonsense. I'm coming over and cooking you guys something nutritious. And why is it normal for you and Milo to stay home alone? I mean, Mom and Dad have been doing this since Milo was born. I've been babysitting every day so Mom and Dad can go to their many parties. What? Why didn't you tell me any of this? Mom and Dad made me promise not to say anything, and it was usually okay because they'd either leave dinner ready for us or they would give me money to order food. How can they just leave their kids home unsupervised? Don't worry about it, Grandma. I'm 16. Yeah, but this has been going on for 3 years now. That's unacceptable. Wait, is this why you've been looking so tired? And your grades have been dropping? Yeah, I mean, between working and taking care of Milo, I really have no time to focus on anything else. Why did you pick up a job, sweetie? If you really needed some extra cash, I could have helped you out, you know. I really appreciate that, Grandma, but Mom and Dad wouldn't let me talk to you about anything. They made me get a job so I could contribute to the household expenses. So they forced you to take a job and then they take away your money too? Yeah, I know. I wish I could do something, but sweetie, don't you worry about a thing. I'm going to make things right for you. But Mom and Dad are going to be angry with me. I don't know how Milo is going to survive if my parents aren't going to be around as much. Don't you worry about a thing. Your parents were not any different from you. It took your grandpa and I to give them an ultimatum for them to step up and take care of you properly. Really? Yeah, it was a whole thing. I wasn't all too worried about Milo because I figured that they'd cleaned up their act after raising you for 13 years, but clearly they thought that they could pass off their duties to you. I don't want you to live like this. You are a child, for heaven's sake. I don't know how to thank you, Grandma. Nonsense. I'm going to drop by the store and pick up some ingredients right now. I'll be there in about half an hour. We'll discuss how we'll go about this then, okay? Stay safe and make sure the doors and windows are locked. Yes, Grandma. Drive safe. As soon as I said that, Milo and I were home alone. I felt like Mom and Dad would have been mad at me. That was exactly the kind of thing that they told me not to tell anyone, especially Grandma. But I was starving and I didn't have it in me to think straight. As I waited for Grandma to come over, I couldn't help but question why my parents kept telling me to not tell Grandma anything. Before I could work myself up and overthink the conversation I had with Grandma, I heard a car pull into the driveway. Grandma came over in half an hour, just like she promised she would. I opened the door to her and she greeted me with a warm hug. Grandma quickly made us some food and served it to us. Milo and I ate the food like we hadn't ever seen food before. When we were done, Grandma asked Milo to go play with his toys while she talked to me. Once Milo was out of the room, she asked me if she could record our conversation, and while I was confused, I told her that she could. She proceeded to ask me questions regarding Mom and Dad's parenting and their presence in Milo's and my life, and I honestly told her that they were barely there. I told her that I was more of a mother figure to Milo than my mom was, and Grandma looked so upset. I basically told her everything that I've told you so far, and by the end of it, Grandma had tears in her eyes as she hugged me. She apologized over and over again for not being there for me when I needed her. But I didn't understand why she was apologizing. She had no idea, right? Wrong. Turns out, when I was younger, my parents would drop me off at Grandma's every day because they were partying instead of working, as my grandma had thought. While my grandma loved me to bits, she also knew that she couldn't be my parent. So when her repeated warnings to my parents to not dump me at her doorstep every day didn't work, she got CPS involved. There was a short period where it was debated whether my parents should continue to have custody of me, but eventually my parents got let off with a warning. And after that, I never got to visit my grandma as much anymore. My grandma thought that my parents actually took the warning seriously and turned their lives around, but clearly that was not the case. So Grandma told me her plan. She asked me to be patient for another month because in that month she'd hire a private investigator to look into all of my parents' activities so she could take them to court about it. I was surprised that Grandma would go that far for me, but I was actually relieved that I was going to be able to get out of my parents' house. I assured her that I'd be able to last another month, and then I slowly began counting down the days to the end of that month. About a month and a half later, my parents barged into my room early one evening, looking panicked. "Adora, did you say something to your grandmother?" "What do you mean?" "Do not even try to lie to us right now." "I mean, the other day, you and Dad were at a party and there was no food at home at all. I didn't have any money, so I did the next logical thing and asked Grandma to help me out. She asked me a bunch of questions and I answered them." "You stupid girl! We told you over and over again not to tell your grandma anything." "How was I supposed to get food for Milo and me? How was I supposed to answer all her questions?" "Oh, come on, you're a smart girl. You could have come up with a few lies." "I was starving and my brain was barely working right at that point. You know, you should be thanking me for not letting Milo go to bed hungry. I don't see why you guys are yelling at me." "You don't understand what you've done. Your grandma is pressing charges against us for child neglect, and she wants custody of both you and Milo." "And that is a bad thing because—" "Excuse me? Do you not care that you'll be taken away from your parents?" "Why would I? You have shown me in the last 3 years just how much you care for and value me. I mean, I've barely been living while the two of you party almost every night." "Fine. I get that you're angry and upset at us, but you could have just talked to us about it." "Every time I tried, you would shut it down. You'd guilt-trip me by talking about family." "I tried, but you never wanted to listen." "Okay, how about this? We'll let you do whatever you want, but you need to ask your grandmother to drop charges against us." "Yes, sweetie, we really are sorry for everything we did. Could you please find it in your heart to forgive us?" "We'll do everything we can to make it up to you. Just tell your grandmother to drop the charges, all right?" "Saying sorry isn't going to bring back the last 3 years of my life. I see nothing wrong with what Grandma's doing. If you really cared about Milo and me, you'd have taken proper care of both of us. Our well-being and safety would have been your #1 priority. This is just the consequence of all your actions. Do you not understand the gravity of this situation? Your dad and I are going to become social pariahs." "Wow. How did you think that point would work in your favor?" "I don't care about your social status, but clearly you two care more about that than your own kids. I mean, you're just proving why Grandma is right over and over again." "You need to stop being so ungrateful. We did not raise you to be like this." "You're absolutely right. You did not raise me. I raised myself, and I raised Milo so far. You two don't deserve to be parents, and Grandma is showing you that. If you want the charges dropped so bad, maybe you should talk to the person who filed those charges against you. I have no play in any of this." "Come back right this instant, young lady." "I'm going to bed. Milo's fast asleep. So keep the yelling to a minimum. He's gotten very used to a quiet house, so he wakes up easily to sounds. Good night." It felt great to finally be able to stand up to my parents without having to worry about my well-being. I didn't even fully realize just how much of an impact their life choices had made on me until that phone call with Grandma. I mean, I was so burnt out and exhausted all the time, and it never registered in my head that it wasn't normal. Seeing my parents freak out and beg me to forgive them so I could tell Grandma to drop their charges made me feel sort of powerful. All my life, all my parents ever did was demand that I do the things that they wanted me to do. There was never any space for my wants and needs. So to see them begging that way made me feel I finally had some value. But knowing that the only reason they were even begging me was because they were worried about losing all their party friends made my blood go cold with rage. Yes, I said cold, because the second my mother brought that up, I felt so angry that I was calm. I was kind of glad that I didn't scream at them, because then it would have made me look like I was hurt by them, and I did not want to give them any satisfaction. Anyway, I ended up moving in with my grandmother while the trial took place, only because I did not want to deal with my parents during that time. My parents tried to have me escorted back home, but I was 16, and in my state, that's old enough to decide where I want to live. My brother was thankfully being taken care of properly, but Grandma assured me that he wouldn't have to be with them for too long. The private investigator that Grandma hired did an excellent job of collecting evidence of my parents' whereabouts over the past month. My recorded confession was very helpful in outlining all my parents' neglect. I also had proof from my teachers and friends about my decline in health and overall academic performance. My parents' friends also stood as witnesses and testified to my parents' presence at every party that was hosted over the course of the last 3 years. There was absolutely nothing that my parents had as a defense for their horrible actions. My mom tried to cry and manipulate the jury with all sorts of excuses about why she did that, but none of them worked. Eventually, it was decided that my grandma would have full custody of me and my brother Milo. My parents looked devastated and tried to talk to me after the verdict was given, but my grandma steered me and Milo away so we wouldn't have to deal with my parents' emotions. Grandma told me afterward, though, that my parents ended up throwing a huge fit and lashing out at my grandma for ruining their lives. My grandma did not care to listen to a single word of theirs and reminded them that she had warned them that if they messed up raising me, she'd fight to get custody of their kids. She left them standing in the court with their jaws dropped. It's only been a month since Grandma got custody of Milo and me, but I really am enjoying my freedom and spare time. The first thing that Grandma made me do was reduce my working hours to only the weekends, which helped me out a lot. She also lets me keep my money, and so I can spend it on whatever I want. Milo also seems a lot happier, and I'm glad that he is. I finally have the time to pick up and read all the books that I've been wanting to read ever since Milo was born. As for my studies, now that I'm sleeping well and have time, I'm working my way up to being a straight A student once again. I don't know what's been happening with my parents, and to be really honest, I don't care. I know that they've tried to reach out to me many times, but Grandma always shelters me and talks to them instead. I'm so incredibly lucky that I have a wonderful grandma like her. She has talked to me about getting therapy to deal with everything that has happened to me in the last 3 years, because to be honest, I think parenting my brother for so long did take a toll on me. I'm looking into it, and I'm sure that it'll only make me feel better. I'm excited to finally live my life the way I want to. It took a long time to get here, but I'm really excited to see what life has in store for me in the future. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my story.